It is Bronze and Modern Gods bonus episode time. Hey, Richard.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. We've got your viewer mail as always on the bonus episode, along with the Instagram Market Watch. But if you're not following us at Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods, you miss all our updates. You miss the fun stuff that we do during the week in between episodes. You miss Richard posting pictures of his Mexican foil variants.
Yes, gorgeous books.
And various other things that we're up to during the week. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. And if you like what you see, like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to know when we go live, hit the notification bell. Do all that good stuff. But first, let's get into viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, you start us off this week.
Okay, my first piece of viewer mail I thought was really cool is from J. Hood Creative. In an early issue of Spawn, colorist Steve Oliff took out a full-page ad saying, "Send me a letter, and I'll send you something back." How did you resist that?
That's a good deal. Sure.
Yeah. So I did, and he sent me the original color art for Shatter number 6.
Aw.
I was doing freelance coloring for a few indies at the time, and I felt very affirmed when I saw he was using the same airbrush techniques. I was using the same airbrush techniques he was doing for the coloring. And I was very familiar with Shatter series, having found back issues years earlier at a used bookstore. Still have them. So
Wow.
yeah, that's amazing being able to get original art. And I'm really curious to see that original art. I mean, as I was talking about this book on our last show, it was printed out on a printer and then photographed, and then that photograph was actually used to make the plates. So it's an interesting process, and that's a piece of history. I hope you still hold on to that.
Yeah, poor Michael Saines. He probably missed out on the whole original art revenue portion of his career. You know how most artists can sell original art and make a little money that way. But with digital art, is that even a thing anymore for new artists? Another thing I noticed was the love for Shatter in the comments.
I did too. I think we struck a nerve there. There are a lot of closet Shatter fans out there.
That was all you. You picked that one, and I was like, "Oh, Shatter, that's cute." I wonder if anyone will remember. Boy, do you guys remember Shatter? So we need to be a little braver with our choices, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys are right along with us for the ride. We appreciate it. My first piece of viewer mail is from Jimmy Lee. I have literally been telling people about Comico Primer or Comico Primer number 2 for the past 10 years. It had a super low print run of less than 2,000 copies. There were only 669 on the CGC census. Comico was formed in 1982 and struggled with poor sales and went under in the late 90s. Sure did. This book has a black cover, and it was very hard to keep in high grade. It's only a matter of time before Grendel gets a movie or a TV show. This book is even rarer than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. Yeah, actually, that is a good point. The print run was low. Comico was formed by 3 friends from, I believe they were college friends. They all had characters, and they pulled their money together and did this kind of a showcase book and brought in Matt Wagner. And it's another one that Richard picked that seems to have struck a nerve with people. Dude, you're 2 for 2.
It's that early 80s love, Mm-hmm. Indie books back then were blazing a trail that the current publishers are taking advantage of. So that nostalgia is hitting. And people are looking at all those books, Love and Rockets, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Primer book here, Albedo number 2. There's all these early black and white books have a lot of love, and I'm glad to see it.
And they blazed the trail for creator rights. These people were able to keep their copyrights in a lot of respects, kind of forced Marvel and DC's hands to offer the same type of rights. You would not have Image Comics, Walking Dead, Spawn, Savage Dragon without all of these 80s independents. So definitely striking a nerve there. What nerve are you going to strike next?
All right. The next one is on my pick for Supergirl #1 from the last show. Rant. All of the Supergirl confusion is an unnecessary result of Crisis. This is Crisis on Infinite Earths, a series that was a bad idea to say the least. Things were clear and fine when we had Earth Prime 1, 2, 3, X, etc. The annual JLA.
Hold on. Were they?
Well, at least you had universe that were contained in a rule set for each one that you understood.
Let me tell you, as a Marvel guy looking from outside looking in, it was a little confusing, but go ahead.
Yeah. We could talk all day about Crisis.
Right.
The annual JLA JSA crossover was the highlight of every summer. Shut the hell by Crisis. The ongoing result of Crisis are a farce. Such a big deal about Superman being the sole survivor of Krypton. Yet hardly a year later, we were seeing new confusing versions of Supergirl. Good going, DC. Yeah, Crisis was DC's first attempt at trying to unify the confusing universe that they had inherited by a variety of different storylines being introduced from different writers over the years and different publishers that they absorbed. So he had all these different storylines and all these different versions of characters. In the Crisis line, they were trying to unify them into one storyline. It was very confusing, and I don't think went over very well with the fans, or in continuing the what they tried to consolidate with. So, yeah, there's a lot of hate for Crisis. There are some key books in that series if you're looking to be a speculator that you may want to look at. But I agree with this. I agree with A100. This was one of those. The Supergirl book is an exact result of that whole Crisis storyline.
Jane, you ignorant slut. Here is the counterpoint. I did not read DC until Crisis. Crisis is what actually got me to come on over. John Byrne's Superman run was the first time in my life I ever bought Superman on a monthly basis. I liked it so much. I liked the Action Comics thing. I liked when Louise Simonson came on, and it was almost one title every week with the little triangle to follow along the numbering. I was in. I loved the Flash. I never read Barry Allen. I was a Wally West guy. So it did accomplish the goal of bringing in new readers, at least from a party of one over here. I will say, A100, you probably are like a pig in slop right now because you got all your multiple Earths back. You got everything you want. They're right here. You've got Superman's sons, you got Batman and Superman's sons running around, for gosh sakes. You've got the original Supergirl back. You've got Captain Carrot hanging out with the Justice League. I mean, this has got to be heaven for you.
Yeah, and you also have to be enjoying Marvel is now dabbling into this multiverse verse thing. So and DC has tried, previously, after Crisis, they tried yet again to try to unify things. And it just doesn't work. People love the storylines that they grew up with, and I think they deserve to continue. And as long as people are buying books, don't worry about trying to unify things. Keep the storylines going that people want to read, and stop trying to force down the throat of your readers something that makes your life easier.
Yeah.
Because the readers are the ones who actually buy the books.
I will say A100 has one good point. I take what I said back a little bit. I did read one book from DC, and that was Commandy. And I had no trouble understanding that it took place in a future alternate Earth, even though Superman's costume shows up. I was able to put Jack Kirby stuff over here in this Jack Kirby corner. So, there you go. The next piece of viewer mail comes from David Samuelson, who is a man after my own heart. He writes, people are going to be really sorry for grossly overpaying on Kang. Kang, I say. Who's actively looking for that today, thinking it'll be worth more later? Look at Iron Man 55 to see your answer. Well, I don't know if that's a good example. Iron Man 55 is pretty expensive and it's held its value. It took a decade building up Thanos. I'm not sure that's a good example, David, but I hear what you're saying. Kang is not Thanos.
No.
Thanos is charismatic. Thanos was popular before the movies. Thanos was a legendary villain. Jim Starlin did a great job of making him horribly evil and yet sympathetic at the same time. He was just love. He was doing it for love.
Mhm.
So Kang, you can't really say the same for Kang. I mean, I know he's got his girlfriend that died or whatever, and he's trying to save her, and but then he's Immortus, and then he's Rama Tut, and then he's like got a council of Kangs. I'm on my head. I just had an aneurysm.
Yeah, Kang, it never just trying to spec on villains typically is not a good idea because villains are meant to be defeated by the heroes. So villains will cycle in and out much more frequently than Spider-Man or Superman or whoever the hero happens to be. So if you're buying Kang, you are taking a chance that the upsurge for him is going to be sufficient for you to make a profit on before the inevitable down cycle.
Yeah,
So I think now is probably a good time. I think we are definitely going to see Kang in Ant-Man. So we have that period until that movie. Depending on how the character plays in Ant-Man will determine whether or not he's going to be a Thanos type of character that will continue to hold value to his next appearance. Because I'm sure he's going to have continued appearance in the new multiverse. I just don't see him being the same level of villain as Thanos.
I'm going to put a little asterisk next to your villains are not a good investment. Straight ahead villains. I think anti-heroes
Right.
are a good investment. Your Submariner, your Thanos, your
Mhm.
Joker, Harley Quinn, of course, who would be
Right.
considered a villain, but more of an anti-hero. Someone you kind of root for, even though they're the bad guy.
Yeah, I definitely I don't count them. Doctor Doom is another one. Black Adam is one. Those are not to me aren't villains. I think they are probably the most interesting characters
Mhm.
because they have such a complex range of emotions and they grapple with morality in a way that Superman will never do. So I think they're really interesting, and those characters are the ones that will retain their value just perpetually.
Now, Kang, I just like saying it. Uh, right now, as it stands as a character, is not the most exciting, intriguing character out there. Kang in the MCU, we got to give him credit. They might
Mhm,
find a hook. They might find something that just hasn't made its way to the comics yet, uh,
mhm.
and really turn it around. But as we've seen with the Black Widow, spoiler alert, all it takes is one bad representation of a popular villain, Taskmaster, to
Ooh, yeah.
completely ruin the spec that is happening on that book. I mean, you can get your Taskmaster first appearance for a song right now, just about.
Yeah, I'm so glad it's spec heavy into that book. I agree with you. It's going to be driven by the MCU. I was impressed by the actor who's playing Kang in Loki.
Mhm.
So I have a feeling that's only one aspect of Kang that he is going to portray. I think the next aspect is going to be a little more villainous. If
Mhm.
he can continue to draw people in with his portrayal as Kang and not be one dimensional, I think he has a real shot at continuing, the that character being of value over across a number of movies over time.
David's got a great point, though. For every Loki, there is a Mandarin
Right. Or a Mephisto.
or a Mephisto. You can't be. That's not fair. Mephisto actually hasn't shown up yet. That's not
Mhm.
MCU's fault. That's
No, he's been spec for two books
yeah.
now, or two shows now. So
And Omega
he
Red. Don't forget Omega Red.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
So we'll see. It's that's the beauty of the MCU. Um, it's self-serving in that it wants to promote the characters to bring value to the property and make future movies possible. And as a side effect, because it's not the real reason why, comic books are raised in value, considerably also by appearances. So I have faith in the MCU being self-serving and making a good character of Kang. We'll see exactly how valuable. Are you specking it all on Kang, and do you have any copies of Kang or Avengers 8?
No.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm sorry. I
No.
hate that cover.
I you
Um,
I believe I've been very upfront about my thoughts about Kang as a villain, period. I don't mind spec when something's announced or is going to happen. What I mind is like the mindless Omega Red's gonna show up in WandaVision. Huh? A Mephisto's gonna show up in Loki. Who said? So I'm
right.
start something right now. Le Beaver from Howard the Duck is gonna show up in what if? You see who else I can grab out of thin air? The armadillo from Captain America is going to show up in the next Avengers movie.
Gold Balls is going to be in
Yeah.
the next X-Men movie. Yeah.
Dr. Bong is going to be the next linchpin of the MCU.
Yeah, people got to watch. To me, speculation is done right with research. Do never buy anything on spec if you don't do the research, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You could be buying at the end of the spec, um, or you could be looking at something like Taskmaster. It pays to do your research, to invest your money, because it basically is an investment of money that you hope to recoup some kind of interest on. So be careful. Don't just listen to what people tell you, because talking heads like us don't know everything.
I will say the first cameo appearance of Dr. Bong is in the end of Howard the Duck 15, and its first full appearance is the splash page for 16, and then issue 17. So
Dr. Bong.
On Dr. Bong.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm sure we're going to see in What If Howard the Duck. That's going to be fun.
Howard the Duck. I was excited when the Hulu series was announced. I was less excited when they announced it was Kevin Smith doing it. Much less excited. That's a whole other conversation we can have. But Howard the Duck done right, and I don't know if you guys saw the article in Hollywood Reporter where they're talking about rebooting the movie for the 35th anniversary, and it's kind of an oral history of the movie and everything that went wrong. Howard the Duck done right could be some real just savage satire, really biting it, relevant today with it done right. Remember, he ran for president, and that storyline exposed everything that was wrong with our political system in 1976. So much has changed for the better. So it can be done right, and Dr. Bong would be hilarious on the screen, just like clapping his head with that thing and the big bell. It would be funny if it's done right.
It could be. It really could be. Howard the Duck is one of those characters that strikes a chord in
rings a bell.
It rings a bell. It's a social chord. He is definitely a character that helps highlight social aspects. Yeah. And it does it in a funny way. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they use him and hopefully it's brought some more action in MCU.
The conventional thinking is no one can do Howard except for Steve Gerber. Well, Steve's not with us anymore. I think the mistake, if there has been a mistake with all the various Howard revivals, is it went less of satiring our society and more about being a satire of the Marvel universe and superheroes itself. We got enough superhero satire. That's covered. Howard needs to be about us. Howard needs to be holding up a mirror. Howard is every man, every duck. Howard is every duck. He's the blue collar guy who's, frustrated with the way things are going now and can't pay the rent sometimes. And is, Howard should be driving a Lyft these days.
Right. Right. Because that will, that will resonate better with the non-superhero audience that's out there. If he comes to the big screen, you want to bring in all those other demographics that are interested in seeing a good movie, as opposed to just the comic book nerds. I think he could be bigger than just a comic book character in terms of popularity.
Yeah, I got a whole plot idea. You want to hit me up, Marvel. It involves TikTok going viral. All right. Enough of that. I wonder if there's any big sales of the first appearance of Dr. Bong this week in the Instagram Market Watch. Something tells me maybe not. But joining us today are both Ali and Big Bill. It's time for the Instagram Market Watch. Tot, 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 tot. And joining us right now, not just Ali. Hi, Ali.
Hi, guys.
But Bill. Hey,
Guys.
We're recording this earlier in the week, so it's kind of irrelevant on the day this goes live on Friday. But happy birthday, Bill. I don't care.
Indeed. Happy birthday, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's great.
Inspired by you. Many masks on the live sales. Not one of my own.
Nice. I figure if I was a He-Man character, I would be Manny Faces, right?
Oh.
It's your birthday. You get a pass for that one.
As long as it's not Fisto. I think Manny Faces is a good choice. Fisto may be problematic. You've all seen Fisto, I assume.
I haven't, but now I need to.
Yeah.
Get the image out of my head.
That's his name. Mattel named him. I didn't. All right, let's get into this.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having us back, as we do every week. So, Elite Comics 11 on Instagram, the platform's premier consignment page. We're here to highlight a few of the sales that we had this past week. So, I'll start things off. Spawn number 1. This is the black and white early ratio variant, and CGC 9.8 white pages. Sold on our page for $2,199.
So, Bill, do you know the provenance of this book?
Of this particular, of the book in general, or this particular copy?
This black and white edition, this version.
Oh, well, yeah, they offered this, it was 5 years after issue number 1 was released. And it was actually a 1-in-50 ratio for issue number 65.
Yeah, so, not a lot of these bopping around, I would assume, because I can't imagine the fervor of Spawn still having the small retailers ordering 50 copies of issue 60, whatever it was. Right. So this is a tough book. One sold for $2,100 last month, so right in line there.
I think McFarlane has a long history of like taking care of and rewarding retailers, like all the way back to Spidey 1. So not surprising he found a way to do that here.
I also want to mention with the Spawn universe and the Spawn movie coming out, I think a lot of, and I'm a kid of the 90s, late 80s or 90s. So there's been this general movement towards nostalgia, people trying to get things that they remember from their childhood. And one fact is, in this era, things were overproduced. So I see a lot of increased demand to try to find these subsets or the scarcer versions of everything we had growing up. So I think this is an example of that. I mean, so many people have issue number 1. This black and white just doesn't come up much for you. The reasons you said, and in a 9.8, the whole thing's black and white. A lot of black on it. It can't be that easy to get a 9.8, even if you get one. So
yeah, and before the days of prevalent pressing, not that it can't be pressed now, but I'm sure some early copies were slabbed with the original red label for modern books back in the day. So it's funny you say that about Spawn and people going for the rarer ones. Doesn't seem to matter with Spawn. Number 1's going for money now. We're in the mirror universe. We're in the upside down. I don't know what's happening. All right, what's next?
Oh, yeah. So next up is one of my personal favorites, and that is X-Men issue number 12. First appearance of the Juggernaut. This particular copy that sold was $5,000, and it was an 8.5 white pages.
Ooh, nice. Not out of line. Another copy sold in GPA for $3,700 this month, but doesn't have the white page notation on it. Always carries a premium for white pagers. And Juggernaut, lots of chatter about the Juggernaut.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there any specific chat that's going out there about appearance in one of the Marvel properties?
Well, I haven't heard anything specific, but, I remember when this book really got the love it was due, and that was on the lead up to the Deadpool, the sequel. And I think ever since then, this book hit that next level of Grail and has never really looked back. And, I think we all want to kind of forget what they did in the X-Men, the early X-Men movies in the early 2000s, what they did with Juggernaut. So, I think it really excited people about the character in a way that I think it endures, and Marvel has to use the character again, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Take the movies out of it completely. People love the Juggernaut. He's always been a very popular villain in quotes. All through the X-Men's history. Hey, remember when he dated She-Hulk?
I do not. Now that makes me want to look it up. No,
I don't know who to pity more. All right, what's next, Ali?
All right, so let's end this thing with a bang. So Fantastic Four #1, CGC 3.5, off-white to white pages. It is signed by Stan Lee on the cover. I know you guys love that. Sold for $23,500 on the page. And before you guys get into it, I definitely want to just make sure I point out that I have noticed firsthand that the demand for Stan Lee signatures on these Silver Age keys has been increasing. They don't last on our page. Just something I've been noticing. So I wanted to let you guys know about that trend.
There is a yellow label squad out there that, that's your thing. Awesome. The GPA, I don't even want to go into it, but I'll say it anyway. The last sale for a signature label in 3.5 in this book was in 2013. $3,100. So
I wish.
Good investment if that's your book. Congratulations. Fantastic Four, with a Stan scribble or not, it's always going to be hot. And some people, this is a book where I'm going to backtrack a little bit and say, if you're going to have Stan signature on a book, this is the one to have it on.
Totally agree. This one and AF-15, I think those signatures are definitely add value to the book.
Just don't do it on a Darkhawk #1. That's what I have a problem with.
Or Batman one, you don't like that, right?
Oh my gosh. By the way, I need congratulations from all three of you for when Ali said, let's end this thing with a bang, not making another reference to the Juggernaut and She-Hulk.
Thanks for sparing us.
Thanks for refraining. Yes. Thank you.
I just want to point out about this book that, it's got a nice Stan signature too. He did a really nice thing, the Stan signature is very in quality, and I have an appreciation for when he really nailed it with the signature and the placement.
Yeah. There was a time where, we all read the stories where Stan may not have been at his fullest faculties, and in the signatures, and my favorite that I always point out, the scrawled bug on the copy of ASM 129, where it's like, why did you do that to my book, Stan? But this is a beauty. It really is nice. And maybe I'm just bitter because I don't have one.
You are jealous. I can tell. Oh no! I just wanted to say congrats to Elite Comics 11 for 24,000 followers. So that's a real milestone.
Thank you. Good job, Bill.
Thanks for staying on that. All right, we will see you guys next week.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
There it is. Wow, some big books this week.
Yeah, big boy books.
I think the big mistake we made was not asking Bill and Ali to dance together.
That's true. Well, there's a future opportunity.
Yes, I like that. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Richard, where can people find us in between shows?
They can find us at Instagram and Facebook at Bronze and Modern Gods, or to the website bronzeandmoderngods.com.
And we will be back Monday with a new episode from a new locale. Dun, 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 dun.
I can't wait. You guys have to tune in on Monday.
It will be worth it. I think it will either fill you with joy or fill you with rage. I'm not quite sure which, but we'll see. Until then, we will see you next time.
Okay, everybody stay safe.